This is Justin for Story Corner Options on Monday, May 8th, 2023. Take a look at SPX and yeah, I just want to talk about a couple things I saw today. So we had a really nice inverted hammer here, really nice resistance, and then we were getting right back into that range as the RSI had just been pegging, overbought. And it's like, okay, it should roll back down, at least back down to, some of the support here, somewhere in here. Thought, okay, we'll chop back down. No, it like flushed lower, which was crazy. But I was in bearish on this because I was in the 41.20 put with the dollar bounce, and then it came back down into here, and I bought. Zoom in on this because it's just hard to see these really small numbers. Is this out? Okay, so I got in somewhere over here for 0.4. I think it was on this candle. I was in for 0.4 with the stop down at 0.15, so 0.25 risk, and was getting just sideways and wasn't looking like it was doing anything, but I was in that resistance range all through here. Then all of a sudden it started to move. It's like, oh, this is great. It's starting to roll down. This will be nice. And then this candle came in too fast. I had my target at 1.5 and it failed at 1.5. And I didn't even have time to react with this kind of like news event, something. All of a sudden, this just spiked way up here, and it's a legitimate candle. I think I was just kind of watching it. It's like, oh, I'm out at 1.5. It could have been out at 2.5 or anything like all the way along here. And it's like, all right, is this going to pull back? Is it going to, retrace a little bit, then roll back down? What option can I get into? And all the premium got, premium came rushing in, and then within 20 minutes was sucked back out again. And so if you were looking to go bearish after this all happened, you were just paying up for puts, and it ended up making a new high, which was kind of crazy in here. So we ended up taking out the high, this high, this high. We ended up taking out all that over here and started to roll back down again. It's like, oh, now we're going again. Maybe we'll get a little bit of retracement and then we'll go. Nope, none of that. Bears did not come to play anymore. They had some news thing here, and that was all they did. So, on the flip side of this, uh, we were bouncing around one, somewhere over here, a little bit above it here, a little bit below it here, and then around 0.5, something like that here. That was through some of this range. And so there were opportunities to be buying this at like 0.5 and to ride that up, but not by much, maybe up to one. That was about it. But after this spike came down, this thing flushed really low. And while I was already hitting my target on the put during this candle at 106, the 106 candle over here came all the way down to 0.1. The next candle came down to 0.1 also, closed at 0.25. You really had a few minutes, and that's all it was, but it's enough time, a few minutes to buy down here, absolute zero, buy at 0.5, or I'm sorry, buy at 0.25, no stop, and just set your target like 0.75, something to ride back up. Now, with how crazy this had moved, I think I would have been in at 0.25. I didn't do this, but I would have been in at 0.25 and out at 0.75 because I didn't think it was even going to go this high. Actually, I probably would have done 0.5 as a target. I didn't think it was going to go this high. But what's crazy is, you look at the way this moved, and this is what I love and hate about options, but we were all the way down to like 0.1 and we went up to 1 or 1.1. So that's a 10x. Okay. It's a 10x on the option. If you got in at the low, which, we're talking about getting in at 0.25 and getting out at 0.75. So that's a 3x instead. Like, a reality check is, okay, maybe a 3x is possible. But look what it had to do. You had to get in down here, and then you were out somewhere up in here, making a new high. Like after these two bear candles came in, I was not expecting that to happen, to take out the high. This thing literally V bottomed. Like that is the definition of a V bottom. So, just make sure you temper your expectations when something like this is moving. If you want to go bearish and that happened, extra patient, or get something like just wait a little bit, wait a couple more minutes, wait for the same sort of thing to set up again. Like, okay, what happens if the RSI pegs again like it did over here? Would that be a better time to get in? Well, not really. Like this option, it never really spiked up again. And so you really just need to be careful what option you're in, what the range is, what the possible range is this late in the day. Like even me getting in here was just kind of expecting a little bit of like a trickle down sort of thing. And maybe 1.5, I would have been moving my target closer as another 20 minutes go by, another half hour goes by, whatever. I would have been moving my target from 1.5 closer to like 1 or 0.75 or zero point 0.5, and then eventually just getting out break even, or something. I hate getting out break even, but something a little bit better than break even. And I didn't have to deal with any of that because of that thing. Didn't know that was going to happen, but I was in the right direction for that kind of a move at the right time. All because I'm looking for what's happening earlier in the option and waiting to get into something when it's much lower and really doesn't have very much to lose. Same thing here. There's not much more it can lose. You can get into a couple more options, a couple more, get into more contracts. That still is a small risk to do this kind of thing. So anyway, that's really all I wanted to talk through. If you look at any of the other options, any other puts, like up here, yeah, they had a tiny little spike on this and then sort of retraced it on this, but then gave all the gains back when we just moved up or ended up slightly. They weren't worth anything. I was looking at the 41.25, the 41.30, even the 41.35. Like it did come right down to this, but it was more expensive. You're paying up when it was up here, and it did move right to at the money, but you would have to have gotten out right then, even if it were waiting through the retracement, hoping it's going to roll over. You didn't know for sure it was. You didn't know if it was going to go into the money, at the money again, whatever it was going to be. You just don't know. So it's like when it's later in the day, so the last hour of the day here, yeah, maybe hold on to one contract, but get out for a gain on some of the other ones if you're in multiples, that kind of thing. So I hope this helps. This is Justin. Thanks.